All right, let's get the week started. Busy week. 6:31, downtown Billings 43. There's a chance of some showers today, believe it or not. But first, a look at news. First news is always fair, accurate. You get the damn truth. Israel delivered a long-expected response to the Iranian missile attacks over the weekend by carrying out a series of airstrikes against the Islamic Republic. Multiple targets included their air defense systems and missile sites around their capital. Their oil and nuclear facilities at this point were spared. Israel signaled strikes have concluded. Countries are voicing anger, calling for restraint as Iran molds its next move. But countries are calling for restraint on Israel and not on Iran. Iran attacked them earlier in the month. Excuse me. Went down the wrong pike. Listen to how Associated Press covers everything on Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Donald Trump hosted a rally featuring crude insults at New York's Madison Square Garden last night, where he's delivering his closing message to the folks of New York. And then below it, Kamala Harris energizing the voters in Philly. Oh, see, this is how they do it. Now, Donald Trump's rally in Madison Square Garden was huge, filled it to the rafters, people standing in lines outside trying to come in. Kamala Harris is in Philly, trying to get a strong turnout. She attended a church service and visited a barber shop over the weekend, taking everything right out of the Trump playbook. During the rally at the end of the day, Harris said no one can sit on the sidelines of this election. She said Trump's only focused on himself while she's running for all of Americans. Have you listened, Kamala, you nitwit? Have you listened to his plans?
No.
Yesterday, he talked about people who caregive and take care of their senior citizens and their elderly. He wants to give them tax credits. He's got all kinds of stuff in his plan to get the economy rolling. She has nothing. Price gouging. That's what she's going after. Price gouging. New poll out finding American voters approaching this election with some unease about what could follow. Well, I guess so. The Democrats have said, Raskin and others, they will not let President Trump take the office of president no matter what they have to do. And he's a threat to democracy? Oh, yeah. They're putting fuel on the fire. 4 in 10 registered voters said they're very worried about any attempts to try to overturn what the American people do 8 days from now. Kamala Harris picked up a big support vote over the weekend. Bad Bunny threw his support in there with a video. Bad Bunny. He's a famous artist right now among young people. She said it's a huge support for her. 30-year-old Puerto Rican musician is the most streamed artist on Spotify, surpassed only by Taylor Swift. The Washington Post, in the meantime, they're not endorsing a candidate for president this year. Whoo, that's big. 2 weeks before the election. In an article on the front of their website, the Post quoted an anonymous source saying any endorsement of Harris or Donald Trump will not be published. Now, the company's owner is billionaire Jeff Bezos, one of the wealthiest Democrats in the world. He made that decision. He knows that a good economy is good for Amazon. He owns that, which would sell more goods. And they are not publishing their pick. The decision for the next U.S. president will determine the trajectory of the fight in the Ukraine and the status of military aid. Former President Trump said that he will end that immediately. He's going to be able to work out a deal with Putin to stop the war. In the meantime, Kamala Harris wants to pick up where Joe Biden has left off. She said she has a very different view, and the U.S. should continue to support the Ukraine with all the military hardware that they need and give them a victory plan. So you have one who is going to continue the war, and you have one who is going to stop it. Vice President nominee J.D. Vance over the weekend made appearances on a lot of the national shows. He said Russia is a U.S. adversary, but it's counterproductive to approach someone like Moscow as an enemy. He said Donald Trump is committed to NATO. Trump himself has pledged to finish the process they began, reevaluating NATO's purpose and the mission, and making other countries step up to the plate and pay their fair share for NATO. In the meantime, his opponent, Tim Walz, is nowhere to be seen right now. This is escalating, too, in the Ukraine. North Korea has got 3,000 troops in there. North Korea has been virtually ignored by the Biden-Harris administration for the last almost 4 years. President Trump walked into North Korea with Kim Jong-un. Residents of a northern Philippine town picking up pieces after that big storm last week. 152 people dead after Tropical Storm Trami ravaged some of their provinces. And their cleanup will take place for weeks and weeks and weeks. There's another storm that veered towards Vietnam across the South China Sea. Caused some bad problems there as well. The United States has approved $2 billion worth of arms sales to Taiwan, including delivery for the first time on that island, our new advanced surface-to-air missile defense system. That sale that the Biden and Harris administration has moved forward on is now pissing off China. Taiwan's presidential office said they're greenlighting the new deal. Xi and China are not happy. They said it's a provocation. They just held huge military exercises off the coast of Taiwan last week with planes and ships. The sales package includes National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile Systems, valued at $1.16 billion. By the way, folks, just so you know, the U.S. doesn't have any advanced surface-to-air missile defense systems anywhere along our borders. East Coast, West Coast, anywhere. Nothing on our borders. How's that border policy working for you? School systems down in Aurora, Colorado, they're trying and struggling to accommodate 3,000 new students over the last year they had from Venezuela and Colombia just in Aurora, Colorado. Teachers are trying to translate. They have to have special translators in the classrooms now. The city council's trying to dissuade them from moving into Aurora by vowing they're not going to spend any money to help these newcomers, but 3,000 new students been thrown in to the schools in Aurora, Colorado. We told you earlier, McDonald's said they tested all their beef patties and they are E. coli free. No poisoning from the hamburger. They're going to resume selling all their quarter pounders at the hundreds of affected restaurants this week. The Food and Drug Administration believes that it was the slivered onion from a single supplier that was the source of the contamination. That outbreak sickened 75 people in 13 states. CDC said one person died in Colorado. Montana had 13 people that got sick from those slivered onions on their quarter pounders. Oh, and by the way, ladies, a judge stopped the merger between Michael Kors handbags and Coach handbags because it would reduce competition. So you can sleep easy on that one. Global shares are up a little bit today. Benchmarks rose early this morning in France, Germany, and Britain. Benchmarks finished higher in Tokyo, Seoul, Hong Kong, and Shanghai as well. As far as Friday, the S&P fell about 0.1 of a percentage point, fell 1.74 points. The Dow fell 259 points. NASDAQ, tech heavy, it was up, rose 103 points on Friday. Some of the companies that did well, Capri Holdings, they're the owners of Versace, Jimmy Choo, and Michael Kors brands. They like the fact the judge stopped that merger, so their stocks were up as well. In Missouri, their voters next week are going to consider whether to make the state of Missouri the 40th jurisdiction in the country that would legalize sports betting. The ballot measure highlights an emerging national debate on how to handle this industry. Missouri's 10% tax rate is below the national average of 19% collected last year. Like half the states, the Missouri measure also allows sports books to deduct free bets they give customers from their taxable revenue. But some states want to make more off of the sports betting. Illinois, Ohio, Tennessee, Washington, they've all raised now their tax rates on sports betting. Colorado and Virginia, on the other hand, they scaled back their tax rates on sports betting. And next Sunday is the time you move the clocks back. Daylight savings time, 2 a.m. local time on November the 3rd. Standard time will last then until March the 9th, when we will again spring forward. See, it used to be the first week of April. Now it's March 9th. The springtime change is tough on your body. The fall change is easier to adjust. Most countries don't make any time changes. It's just mostly North America and some of Europe. Two exceptions, Arizona and Hawaii. They stick to standard time year-round. How in the hell can we do that? It's such a goofy-ass thing. Some states, some states, the sun comes up differently than other states do.
Apparently.
Mark. And in Europe, they don't say, just we goofy-ass Americans. We're the only ones that still do this darn near. Darker mornings and lighter evenings can knock your internal body clock out of whack and make it harder to fall asleep. Like I don't have enough trouble already. Health groups, including the American Medical Association and the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, have said it's time to do away with these switches. They don't care. And, they even have special notes in here on how to prepare for the time change. Some people change their bedtimes little by little in the days before that change. No,
don't.
I'm getting every last minute of sleep we could possibly get. I mean, for crying out loud, it looks like you came to work in your pajamas. So, will the U.S. ever get rid of the time change? Lawmakers occasionally propose it. The most prominent recent attempt was a bill called the Sunshine Protection Act, proposed making daylight savings time permanent. But health experts said you got it backwards. The standard time is the one that we should make permanent. That is the permanent time before we got to daylight savings time.
Exactly.
So you go back to time the way it's supposed to be and not... They can't even agree on that, these guys in Washington. It's crazy, folks, and so we suffer through this 2 times a year. Cat Country News Time this week is 6:45. Sports and weather next.
In sports, Game 3, World Series tonight in New York. If Ohtani can't go, they're going to be facing Clark Schmidt. Freddie Freeman will probably go in at DH. Max Muncy going to take first base. Enrique Hernandez would start at third base. And Andy Page would be inserted into the lineup to handle center field. And Ohtani's replacement in the leadoff spot would be Mookie Betts. They asked the coach about Ohtani and said, if he thinks he can go, he's going to go.
That's right.
That's our guy. He wasn't on the IR all year. If he says he can play, then damn it, he's playing.
That's right. You let that guy play if he says he can go.
And viewership good this year, 14.5 million a game, best since 2017.
But now that the Yankees are down 2-0, that could start to wane.
Yeah.
54 degrees today, folks. We got about a 30% chance of some showers today. And we'll keep our eye on that. A little cooler by midweek, 40s. Then towards the end of the week, back to the 50s again. Not so bad. Downtown now, it's 43. 647, that's what's happening. Mark and Paul here together. Last week for you to get in for the Flakes trip. So stop by today. Listen for your chance. Who knows, anytime during the day.